Yo, Phil, how's the weather, man?
It's a terrible question.
What are you talking about? We're remote. I don't know what the weather's like over there. I want to know how the weather is.
We live in the same city, and I hate that question. Which brings us to the bamboo banger of today, which is skipping the small talk. We've all been trapped in conversations that feel like more of a formality than a connection. And we've all been there, and the ones. How's the weather? What do you do? Where are you from? How are the kids? They aren't inherently bad questions, but they scream, how can I politely get out of here? And I've worked a lot on this because those were my go-tos. And the amount that we're in a connection crisis, in my opinion. And if you start an interaction like that could potentially change your life or could potentially be a friend, you might blow it up before it even exists just because you're boring doing the same thing that every other human is. So again, trying to share some of the things we're working on. No, Stephen, you're a master connector, owning a business, dealing with small businesses. You have to keep it fresh and alive and not be boring. So what are your thoughts, Weatherman?
Yeah. How many times you get asked like, hey, how are you? And you're like, good. And you're like, great. And then that's it. Right.
So we're living in a simulation.
It's definitely challenging to get to that next level, especially when you're doing a lot of networking. I mean, the whole goal of growing your business, let's say, using that as the topic here, is generating quality referrals through relationships. And you can't develop a relationship if you keep everything surface level. And so developing that deeper connection requires next level questioning, but why not just start with the next level? Like, why aren't we starting with open-ended questions and exciting questions? One of my favorite ones, especially as we come up into summer, is like, hey, where are you going this summer? What trips are you planning this summer? Like, what are your adventures? And getting people to talk about like something they're excited about and like, oh, I've never been there. And then, or maybe you have and you share a story or whatever. But the whole point is trying to ask questions to get people to share stories. And that way you can relate or ask another question that dives deeper into that story. And the more you get them talking and the less you're talking, be more interested, not interesting, really helps develop that relationship. And you're not after one word answers and just like checking off off the box. Like, oh, well, I asked, hey, how are you? Oh, nice to meet you. What do you do? Oh, I'm a financial advisor. Okay, great. And then it's like, what do I, what's next? And so it's definitely something that I think is a really good topic to dive into.
I love the travel one, but even that one we can get, oh, any travel coming up? It's how you ask it, right? Yeah. You don't care. And that's the problem with these typical conversation starters is they fall flat. They're transactional. You're putting people into categories and timelines. It's the same question they were asked yesterday or last week. And they're often just placeholders for silence because we're awkward and it's uncomfortable sitting there. So if you're going to be uncomfortable anyway, don't be boring and uncomfortable. And we're going to give some alternatives, some ones that we've been trying out and some that I haven't tried out, but I highly intend on. But let's start with, what do you do? I think, especially from a business perspective or even in general, this is a big one. And I like, what are you working on these days or what's lighting you up these days? I was in a situation once where I asked, what do you do for work? And it was a stay-at-home mom. And not that that's not work, not passing any, like, that was on me, right? Like, that's when I get to categorizing people. I've never made that mistake again. And it's respecting and getting them to tell you in their own words, not just capitalistic. This is my cog in the society that is capitalism.
Yeah. Well, and I think the way you frame up that question of like, what's firing you up right now? Or what are you working on? Like, the response may have nothing to do with what they do to earn an income. And I think that's what's exciting is it's not, what do you do? And most people are like, oh, I'm a bartender, or, oh, I'm a SaaS sales executive, or, oh, I run a payroll franchise or whatever, right? Like what people think of like the what you do for work. That's just like the initial immediate response. But if you're saying like, what is firing you up? Right? Like, oh, well, I've got a couple podcasts coming up and I'm going to be, and you start sharing about like, oh, podcast's awesome or whatever. Right. And it kind of changes the tone a little bit of not here just to talk about work. Cause you are not what you do. And so people want to know who you are, and that's how you develop the relationship. And so asking about what fires you up or what are you working on right now that's getting you excited.
I love the direction that takes it. And I found one that I haven't used yet, but I think it's next level is, hey, tell me something that you are quietly proud about right now. Dude, sit in the silence. This is going to be, first of all, I guarantee they're going to be refreshed. Even if you've made them uncomfortable, you're both in it now. And just sit with it. Let the wheels turn. They're going to have to think.
That's a good one, dude. It just got me thinking. This is like pickup lines. like when you were like in the dating pool, like when you're in the dating game, like you can't just walk up and be like, "Hey, how are you? Can I buy you a drink?" Baby. You got to have the icebreaker that's going to stand out. And dude, if you want to share some pickup lines, I know you got some. Freddie Piccolo. He's got some good pickup lines. All right, what is it?
Were there nipples on the Batman costume?
I don't know. You can't help but laugh at that.
Dude, that worked once. You've no idea what's coming. You got
What's the answer?
It's a little risque.
What's the answer?
I don't know. Was it Val Kilmer or Michael Keaton? I don't know. And it starts this, that's a good one. But
there's another one. Yeah, there was another one that had something to do with a quarter, I remember, but we won't talk about that.
No, that one's not.
But it's true though. Like, yeah, we're not out here dating people like in the professional setting, but it's a similar idea and a similar model. Like, how are you going to make a lasting impact when you leave that conversation? You may only have 30 seconds or 60 seconds with somebody new that you met at a networking event or some sort of, you don't have that opportunity to sit down for an hour and really get to know them. So how are you going to get that? How are you going to get that standout interaction to where when you leave, they're like, "Oh,
that was the Batman nipples guy."
Or I'm just excited to continue, developing this relationship and figuring out what they do and what they're all about.
100%. I think, and there's levels to this, right? Like kind of building off the social or the spiral dynamics. It's like, even when we get relationships, we get together, like think Junto, think your colleagues at work, and you just default to how the kids. Even if it's by name, how's well? Yeah. How about what's the last thing you and Paula connected on? What's the last thing the time you and Kim took for yourselves? I'm just really curious because these are well thought out questions that shows, again, it's not just a label off the shelf that you're regurgitating. You're wanting to have a connection in this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely at fault of that. It's like, "Oh, what's up, brother? How's the family? Family's good. Oh, what have you been up to? Busy."
Same thing.
Right?
Same thing. Close-ended.
Right.
How about this one? This is a Phil Crawford original, and I think it will put someone else. It's a little uncomfortable, and I did use this one. Who is someone that you've been missing lately? Like you miss them. And I would just leave it at that. Like in this instant, it was someone talking about a cousin that they're really close with. Anyway, that's a great conversation that gets outside of immediate family, and it might go a little too deep, but that's for that second level. You already have a relationship, but it just is another way to think a little bit outside the box.
Well, for sure. That question could be awkward for a new relationship, right?
Right.
But this is like, okay, we're next level. We're now we have figured out that we do enjoy hanging out with each other. So now let's get real. Like let's actually talk about some real shit and not just continue the surface level stuff, because it is a bit of a lack of care or empathy, or, if you're not asking these deeper level questions, then you may not care about that person, and that's what it is. But if you want to show that you care, you're going to ask those questions, and it might stir up some things. Like, that's a tough question. That could be like a death in the family. You're missing somebody, right? And so they could be like, "Oh man, I've been thinking about so-and-so and it's been tough because they just had their birthday," or whatever.
Yeah. Timing's everything in all of these. And you've got to have a gauge.
Right. But it's also like, where are you going to do it? Are you going to do it in a setting where there's a group of people and it's just you, that quick pat? Or is it going to be you guys are hanging out one-on-one?
Lunch.
Right. Over lunch or whatever. And so maybe those are that's the setting for those types of questions or whatever. But how's the family, how's work, busy, whatever, all those things. The point is getting the open-ended questions out there and to a deeper level is going to give you the opportunity to feel good about making a lasting impact on somebody. Amen.
Can I give you another one that it's a default? And I want to know this. Like, again, these are not bad questions. It's how they're delivered. Because this is another one that we default to. Where are you from? St. Louis. Oh, I was born in Phoenix. Okay. Oh, born and raised, that's rare. Like, how these conversations are going to go. So how about this? What place has shaped you the most?
That's a good one.
Or reword it, even if this is for a new person, like, what place in the world has shaped you the most? That just changes everything about how this conversation is going to go. About you, about your curiosity about them. Again, small change, just a habit.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. I think another good one is, did you see the game last night? Yeah, I saw the game last night. That was crazy. Talk about the game. It's like, oh, whatever. But what if we were saying, what if it was something about, you knew that was their favorite team. You're like, and you dive into that team, or you already knew something about it, and you're asking about, what do you know what that coach was talking about, or like what happened, or like, I don't know, diving into the specifics of the game instead of did you see the game or whatever. But
do you think you could have blocked that shot from Steph Curry? Like, again, get creative, like shift up the frame of the conversation that you're trying to have. And if it's inauthentic, it's going to show, and it's already showing with the surface level questions.
So I guess the point is skipping the small talk. I can't stand it. Like, I actually stopped doing networking happy hours and things like that because it was just constant. Like,
who are great about this? Comedians. You ever watch comedians on podcasts and rip? Like, it makes us seem so formal. Like, obviously they're ripping on each other, which makes it different, but they're like, thanks for sharing that when no one asked. Like, they just get to the meat and the potatoes. Life's too formal. Like, it just is.
They have the ability to get away with a lot up there.
License to burn and roast.
There is there's a fine line. I think there's a fine line to that, where if you're going to put yourself out there, especially with newer people you're trying to get to know, that could rub someone the wrong way. If you're like,
100%. I'm not recommending this by any means, unless you are going down the comedic path and that's your brand. That typically happens the closer knit your tribe gets when all bets are off. And even then, there's some guardrails in place. Another one I like is, instead of how are you, what's something you've been sitting with? What's on your mind? But it's, again, just words.
Yeah.
But you're asking it a different way. It says everything about you and your intention with the conversation.
I think once you get the first response, it's what's your next level question? Because what's something you're sitting with, and then they respond, and you're there, you're listening. Right. A lot of it's listening to what, you're not just thinking about what to respond with next, but a great one that they respond with is like, ooh, that sounds important. Tell me more about that. How are you dealing with that? Or what do you work, what are you working to fix that? Or what are you working on to make that outcome better or whatever. Right. And it's just not being judgy. It's just being patient and not like cutting people off. That's the other thing, is cutting people off is like, there's nothing worse. When you're like in the middle of a story and all of a sudden someone cuts you off, like, and then you never get the opportunity to finish your story.
I do it all the time. I do it to you on this podcast.
I know. Constantly. It's ridiculous. I get pissed every time we hit stop. No.
This will not be the last time, and I apologize in advance. But
no, this is a conversation. This is different. But you know what I mean? Like, we cut each other off all the time on this thing. But I mean, I think it's important to realize, like, when someone's like deep in a story, and now if they're going on for like 25 minutes, like, oh, that's tough. You also have to be on the other side. It's like, when you're getting asked these questions, be vulnerable. That'll help open the door for that deeper connection between you and the person that asked that question. But if you're going to be sharing, like, all of a sudden, oh shit, I shouldn't ask that question. You just opened up their entire life for 20 minutes. I don't know if that was the right, maybe, I got to go to the bathroom.
You're going to have to hit the eject button anyway on that one. So no harm, no foul. You figure it out quicker.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, these are good questions with your spouse too. How often do we get stuck in routine where you come in through the door and it's like, hey babe, how was your day? It's good. Okay. Instead, hey babe, what was the most exciting thing that happened today? Or what brought a smile to your face today?
It's so true. It's so true. And you go to the next room and think about that interaction like, God, I was just so surface level because we're tired, right?
Yeah.
Another one I like that you just stirred to mind because I've been using on Paula and some customer calls, actually. It's like, how are you today? 8 out of 10 today. And they're like the response back
the response is 8 out of 10.
Really? I'm like, yeah, yesterday was 7. I think I'm an 8 today. Like you throw some numbers out. Just try this stuff, folks. Like, I promise you it's going to make you feel better and refreshed as we're interacting with humans day in and day out. Because again, I'm not being dramatic. This is a connection crisis, man. It's a one-off text message, and then you don't reply to that text message, and that festers with certain people. And it's just, we got to get back to actually caring about the other human that's on the other side of the conversation.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, the more prevalent technology is and the more remote people are getting, it's so hard to keep that connection and the delay in responses. And with social media, like everyone sees stuff on social media and it's always great stuff, right? It's always great pictures, successes, exciting things, which is great. Like most of it now, there's also the negative side of social media where people rant and, all that stuff too, but it's all surface level stuff. It's still surface level. It's like presenting yourself in whatever light you want. You get to dictate that by posting on social media. But like, if you've got a close friend, you see some things like, when's the last time you checked in with somebody that you've known for a long time? And I've got some names that come to mind right now that I'm like, I haven't checked in a while. And that's part of it too, is recognizing that it's been a while and these are important people in your life and they've shaped who you are along the way. And yeah, maybe you don't talk to them every single day or even every week or every month. There's friends that I got, and I know you get the same, where you haven't seen them or talked to them or whatever in a long time, but you think about them all the time. And so when you have that thought, that opportunity to reach out, I think that's something that, you may see them on social media all the time and people feel like, oh, I just saw them. It's like, you didn't really see them. You didn't connect with them yet. You didn't have lunch with them. You didn't have a conversation and figure out what they're going through and how you can be a resource and where you can share that empathy. And, I think that's where, going back to, I think we talked about a couple pods ago, is like, how many funeral worthy relationships are you going to have? Mm-hmm. And you can't have people won't show up to your funeral if you're staying surface level the whole time. It's no longer about business and trying to grow referrals. This is like life conversations. And it's so like meaningful and just fulfillment of having these deeper, like you just leave smarter and happier and find more joy in your day when you have one of those deeper conversations.
Absolutely. Is there anything that you've changed your mind around recently?
Dr. Evil. Anyone watching YouTube, Phil just did the Dr. $1 million. I changed my mind around recently. Dude, I mean, a lot of it has to go with like my family circle and dynamics. Kids are getting older and we're talking about like high school stuff and, we're trying to figure out what life is going to be like in those teenage years. So yeah, we're wrapping our heads around some real challenging years ahead. I mean, I've talked to some friends of what it's like to have teenagers in the house and how to be good parents. And I mean, honestly, that's the biggest top of mind topic that Kim and I are working through all the time is raising these kids. I mean, it's really our sole focus. And so what I've wrapped my mind around is like, it's no longer, obviously as soon as the kids were born, it no longer was about you, but it's really just like, sometimes I have to pinch myself. And Kim and I were sitting in the backyard one time and we were like, just like recently, a few weeks back, I'm like, freaking created these two little stinkers. Like now we got to like we're their parents. Like sometimes I feel like I'm like 22 years old still, like mentally, like this is crazy how life goes. And so it's just, obviously I recognize that I'm a father, but it's very much, wrapping my head around what these next, call it 6 to 8 years to get them to graduate high school is going to be. We're really putting in some work to set the foundation for that.
The important question.
Yeah. All right. So what's got you fired up right now, man?
Well, something that I've changed my mind on, and this is a question that, like the reason I asked you is because I think it's a good one. It makes you take a second, but I think mine is cryptocurrency. And not that I'm bullish on cryptocurrency. I don't, not pro by any means, but just as opening up to it with everything that's going on, tariffs and looking at the financial system. My brain hurts when I look at all this stuff, but cryptocurrency, something I don't know if I have changed my mind because I have been so hands off and kind of not getting involved, but I have changed that frame. That's one of many things I changed my mind on. I reserve the right to change my mind daily. So, but is something. I think it's a good question to ask people.
Yeah. What are you doing? Are you investing in it, or just watching it?
Not yet. You're just going down the rabbit hole, pulling on the strings.
Dude, it still blows my mind. Like, so I'm as you know, it's, I'm a trader. I play in the stock market a little bit, and it's been the most volatile year. And I mean, both directions, like up and it's down, it's up and down. It's like, it's really crazy. But crypto, I never really could figure out. Like, it's tough for me to wrap my head around how it's even around. Like, they're not even like, I don't know, mining Bitcoin still baffles me. And I know I'm way behind the curve for those cryptos that are listening to this podcast, think we're a bunch of idiots, but at the end of the day, like, it's just new stuff. I've never gotten into it. And you see, like, dang, I heard about Bitcoin 12, 15 years ago. That would have been nice. Had a crystal ball, but
getting old, got to stay up. I think as we bring this episode to a close, it's like small talk may have its place. I actually even hate saying that. Cut the small talk. See how you can slowly just change your next few interactions with everyone and reframe how you're asking them, because connection is what we need. And let's talk about what really matters.
I got another one for you before we close. Like, would you ask somebody, what's the most pressing thing bothering you right now? Would you ask what's
ruffling your feathers right now? What's got your goat?
Yeah.
What's got your goat? That's what I'm going to start working with.
Oh my
What's
God.
got your goat right now?
I'm like, it's good. It's a good way to laugh. Get someone to like, what are you talking about? What does that mean? But I mean, do you want to start off with do you want to get that? Like, is the goal to ask that question to get them to open up for you to help resolve? Or is the goal to ask the question to be a sounding board if they need it?
Or are you wanting to answer that question and that's why you asked it?
No. Well, I see your point, and I didn't, but yes.
See, that's the thing. It's all jujitsu. It's a dance. And that's what's fun about the dance is you can kind of guide it, but you got to let it go. And if you have intentions for the conversation, there's other levels for that around influence and persuasion. But
how often, that brings up another point, is how often do people ask questions hoping that they'll get the same question in return so they can share their own damn story?
I've been there before. It's like, oh, that's very specific. Do
you
want to talk real estate?
Anything about? Oh yeah, yeah. But going back to, again, establishing deeper level connections, deeper relationships. The way to do it is to skip the small talk, stop the service level conversations, questions, keep them open ended. You can do this with your kids. Like, how was school? Good, Dad. No, like, change it up. Like, what made you smile today at school? A lot of times, actually, I'll ask them like a list. Like, give me 3 things that made you smile today. You know, and they'll have to like go through them, and then we talk about those things or whatever. But just little tips and tricks. Hopefully, we gave you some nuggets.
Don't be boring, listeners. Don't be as boring as we are. We're here to help you. We'll be back at you next week. Keep bamboo banging.
That's a bamboo banger.